Hey, welcome to the Hired AV podcast. My name is Joe Way, and I am your host. And boy, do we have a good one for you today. My favorite episodes are ones where I bring in my own staff. They're freebie episodes for me. Like, how do you find a guest? I just knocked on the door down the hall. Actually, no, I sent a Slack message, I think.
Yeah, I think
No,
that was right.
was it a Slack message? No,
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this. Some of you have had a chance to meet Taye. He was at Infocom. Was
Yes.
at the education summit talk. There was the highlight of that. So
Oh my gosh.
you were. So but I want to bring you in because you also I'm excited to talk about your history, your
Yeah.
background, what you're looking to do here at UCLA and all. But before I get into that, please introduce yourself and tell people who you are and what
Yeah,
you do.
absolutely. Thanks for having me, Joe. And it was a Slack message, and I always welcome them because Joe and I are workaholic warriors, I like to say. When I like to think about my background, I always like to start like a little just history of who I am. My name is Tay Nelson, everyone. I was born and raised in the Nashville metropolitan area. My family unit consists of my mother, Tammy, and my two younger brothers, Andrew and Demetrius. I had a very interesting experience when I started my undergraduate career. I first started at BYU in Provo, Utah. And that experience led me to Apple, where I was able to go and work starting at a retail store at Salt Lake City. Spent 6 months working at that retail store literally after the original iPhone launched. I started at Apple, I believe, in September or November. I always forget because it was just one of those long periods. But it was literally after the iPhone launched and just watched exponential growth really quickly. And I don't believe in luck, but I do believe in right place, right time. And that was the right place, right opportunity for me because I was able to get immediately plucked out of the retail store to go work at corporate, where I worked on strategy and unlocking the APAC region. So opening the first retail location in Beijing before the Summer Olympics in 2008, which is kind of funny because UCLA, we're going to
Full
be doing the
circle.
Olympics and we're literally coming full circle. Well, that was exciting, and a great thing about being at Apple, again, right place, right time, it just led me to the entertainment space. I was working on in a project in LA, and I met a casting assistant named Ty Nelson, and I thought it was just the most bizarre experience because my name is Tay Nelson, obviously, so it's only one vowel that separated our names, and just through that connection, found my way into the entertainment industry, working on my first indie film, which was an interesting experience, and being in different parts of production and realizing how much I hated being on set initially, and then finding my way over into casting. Luckily, in my career in the entertainment side, I was able to work on really great projects like HBO's Entourage, the Twilight series, and then found my way in love for casting, where I spent a good bulk of my time, whether in LA or back in Nashville, casting independent and studio projects and doing a lot of live events in between because the great opportunity for us is getting out of the office, and the best way of getting out of the
Yeah.
office was going to work a live event for whether that was for CMT, Universal Music, or who have you. So what brings me to my experiences here at UCLA is we're looking at a really great opportunity as the first ever hire in this role, production services. What is production services? Well, for me, it is how do we create a lens that we can standardize not only the equipment that we purchase, but the teams that we hire and the events that we're able to then set up and then streamline, whether it is at the Luskin Hotel, which is a big part of my remit, or other university spaces. I'm looking at the entire landscape as what is the production capabilities that we have and how can we set a standardization so we can elevate, whether that be for LA 28 or any long-term event that we're trying to roadmap into. So that's a really exciting time to be here, to be on Joe's team, in order to really figure out how do we really unlock and harness all that we have here at UCLA and the backdrop of Los Angeles.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting. So your scope for everyone to know is obviously the live events. We have the five-star hotel plus the student. I'll call them student conference centers just because they're in the
Yeah.
student area, but they're not necessarily. Which is a couple of conference centers there. Not to mention a Lake Arrowhead area and
Yeah.
other campuses we have going. But also you also touch the academic side because you've got our
Yeah.
live streaming we call Bruin Cast and all of that stuff. So talk about how you see that mix of because a lot of schools think, oh, there's an event or there's academics. So what is this combination? What does that mean to you that the fact that you cover everything across our platform?
Yeah, I look at it as a great blend opportunity. There is no reason for us to bifurcate what we do on the lecture capture side for Bruincast for the live events. We have to look at in a world where after coming out of the pandemic, we learned a lot about virtual production, and everyone, at least from on the other side of my shop, from the entertainment side, rushed to iterate those processes. And what we realized is, wow, we can do a lot more being not on-prem, but we can do a lot more just people working remotely, whether that be letting teams go and work in different countries or working from home. That same concept can apply here to a university setting where just because we're touching the academic side is doesn't have to create this firewall of creating two separate services. I'm looking at an opportunity where, hey, my live events is a big part of our business, but so is the classroom side. So how can I use Bruincast, our live streaming operation, as a bridge to connect those two?
Mhm.
Being able to utilize Bruincast, the streaming service, and then be able to enhance it with virtual production and really create a post-production team within Bruincast will allow us not only to enhance what we can do in the classrooms beyond just recording the lecture captures, but really creating a streaming environment to where students and faculty do not actually need to be on-prem to be able to access that same kind of learning opportunities where we can truly create a hybrid environment where the faculty member wants to be on location, as I would say, in the field, doing a field research and then having a camera or an iPhone in their foreground, and then we're streaming that signal back to via our learning canvas. And then on the flip side, if we have a live event happening at our Luskin hotel, how can we utilize Bruincast to be our show operation?
Mhm.
Call in the camera cues, go to camera two, go to camera three, let's cut that. Can you pinch in here? If we're able, and this is going to be a long-term strategy, we're trying to proof of concept this right now, but if we can establish a good protocols that sets up an operation that allows us to blend those two, I think we'll really have something really special here at UCLA that we'll be able to take on the road to other UC schools to show that you don't have to bifurcate what you do on your event side and your classroom side. We are in this new paradigm where we can really elevate the experiences if we just figure out how we, do a little shift in our thinking.
Yeah. And I want to touch on something you just hit because, you kind of mentioned the kind of proof of concept of looking at how we're going to handle these things. We're in a very unique situation, right? Where we basically get to build from ground up, right? Take all
Yeah.
these services and say, okay, how are we going to do it? What's our strategy going to be? Whatever. I don't know what the right words are. But I don't know. What do we don't, we don't even know what we're doing yet. Um, um, but again, the purpose of this is to say, hey, we need to improve our services. We need to improve
Yeah,
the product delivery, and the way you're really looking at saying, hey, I'm going to pull all of this together, right? How can we
exactly.
turn something that's academic also into a revenue center? How can we turn
Exactly
something
right.
that's sending a lecture to somebody and serving a student, right, with all of the things they need? But then how can we also then turn that into a production
Exactly right.
production service that we can now sell to an outside client who comes in and rents it. Like I think today, I don't know. I shouldn't say this on the recording in case when my boss listens, but you stepped out of UC Regents in
We
order to
did.
handle this. I mean, like, come on now. But that's great. I mean, but that shows how your ship is running, and that's what's great.
Yeah.
But so, how do you go about now, knowing that you're creating this product, this service that's going to go across? What's your mindset as we go through developing? Because we know it's a multi-year thing that
Yeah.
we're going to get into LA 28, but it's a multi-year thing to even get to the product we're going to give at least
Right.
2 years. What's your thought? What are you doing right now? What's your thought process to get you to that end goal?
Yeah, so as everyone knows, I mean, we start classes on Monday here, Monday through next week, where our students are literally in the process of returning back. If you look outside at Kirkhoff Hall, everyone's lined up to get Bruin cards. What we're currently focusing on right now in this time is how do we ensure that we are the services that we traditionally have offered are working nominally. So before we add any new offerings to our services, can we ensure that we have stability in our platform, so that be Bruincast or on our event side? When we talk specifically about Bruincast, we actually, this is a great time because yesterday we just had training. We had Extron come to campus to look at our SMPs. We have 17 of those in our large general assignment classrooms, our largest lecture halls that we have here on campus, and just to be able to start our test to figure out, okay, when we add streaming to the mix, Do we have the ability to do so? The answer is yes. The technology and the equipment's
Mhm.
already in the classrooms. We just have to turn it on. Great. So for us at this point, it's like, okay, let's make sure that when we start classes next week, that the services that we currently have already traditionally offered, that we're bulletproof, meaning we're ready to go with those services. At the same time, let's ideate. Let's work with our networking partners. Let's work with faculty and teaching learning center to talk about when the when the winter quarter comes up and spring quarter comes up. These are some additional offerings that we're looking to test with a few faculty members, i.e., the streaming portion. How
Mhm.
can we really set up streaming to work not only via the S&P through our campus system, but also if some faculty members want to, because some faculty members will want to send the signal out to YouTube when they're doing exam week, just to broaden out their study materials. So for us, it's we're really looking at this as we don't need to run, we need to crawl, walk, run. So for
Yeah.
right now, it's how do we work with our partners? How do we ideate? How do we ensure that we turn something on? We have the network infrastructure in place that we won't have a failure. And understand there will be challenges. There, as of yesterday, as what happened yesterday, we were all ready to go, but then we realized that in the particular school building that we're in, they have their own firewall set up that isn't connected to ITS. So that was a learn that we brought out of that meeting, and there'll be a lot more of those. I always say, and I say this all the time to our team members, we need to walk slowly and we need to speak with one voice, meaning it doesn't matter what part of the team you're on, whether you're on Bruincast or you're on the digital support services side or you're in the AVIT solutions end, which is Cheese team, that we all need to be visible to the conversations and speaking with one voice so we're not misaligned when giving communication out to our stakeholders so that we
Yeah.
all know what the marching orders are and how we then can move forward together. But it will be, as I say to my team all the time, this will be a process.
Mhm.
We are we're building from scratch in order to really figure out how can we enhance the learning capabilities of Bruincast within that lecture capture system within those classrooms. Because I truly believe in the democratization of education in terms of you should be anywhere in the world and be able to interact with UCLA and still get that same experience as if you were on prem. So how do we make that realized? And one of the ways I think we realize that is how do we unlock the true value, the true resources of Bruincast? How do we ensure that you could be anywhere in the world with an iPhone or a camera and be able to beam that signal back to the UCLA Prem?
Yep. And it's interesting. You said something that I think is important there. When you said democratization of education, of
Yeah.
course, I love buzzwords, but I love buzzwords that actually mean something. Um, but with that, I mean, I think it's important. So as you're doing this, because to do that, because where we're
Yeah.
going from, I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of technical debt to repay, both in the, in the classroom experience and the event space, right? The Luskin is
Yeah.
one of the most gorgeous hotels you'll ever see, but it's what, 10 years old or so.
10 years old.
And it's still the same technology that was
Yes.
done when it was built, right? And now we're
Yep.
dealing with that. And it is what it is, right? We're going to come into that.
Yep.
Part of that is building the team. So we have a lot of topics to touch on and a lot of things I know my audience, because reorg. How are you going about?
Ooh.
We can't really share all your team yet. You've got a
Yeah.
couple in. You've got a couple of rock stars in already. As we're building from scratch here, my mic keeps going in and
Yes.
out here. What? But so let's talk about. What is your philosophy in going and building all these parts and then bringing that team
Yeah.
together?
And in full transparency, I've looked at both my teams as an opportunity to see what resources that are already there in terms of personnel, equipment. When I look in terms of headcount, we have to think about it in terms of do we have the right people in the right seats to do the best work? And if true, yes, how do we then help support them in that process? And for me, coming into the role, it was really critically important on the event side that we need people in place that understand that it's not just about how you set up and strike an event. That is sometimes plug and play, and you can get really great feedback. I need individuals who understand the customer service side of setting up an event. That's working with hotel management, that's client management, that is always being accountable and being a face to any problem that pops up. Because as you know, with any event, it's not a fire until someone says there's a fire. and you only have minutes to react to it. So who do you have at a leadership level? And then as the leadership level is set down to individual contributors that are operating with that customer focused mindset. Because the work is the work, but how you work with your partners is something entirely different. It's a different side of your brain. So when I focused on the recruiting efforts for our event services team, it was really through that lens of, okay, great, you have the technical background, that's amazing, but how do you then deal with the customer service? Because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, I can't be in every meeting and I can't be smiling at everyone. So it's really great to have a team of rock stars, as you say, to be in place to be able to help pick up that load. Because I really truly believe in order to create, do a culture shift, you have to first have that visibility in leadership. It's being present in the event spaces. It's also being responsive to email and Slack. Little things
Mhm.
like that that seem trivial, but they really are important because again, when you have an event that's happening, the worst thing for a hotel sales manager, a hotel manager to deal with is waiting for an event person to respond back. So how do we be action oriented? That was critically important to me into that process. With Bruincast, I was really looking for strategic thinkers. The work is the work. I will work with Joe to set the vision of what Bruincast will look like, but how do we unlock that strategy? Because again, I look at it from the standpoint as I can't be in every leadership meeting, so I have to be able to trust that the person I put into the seat is someone I would feel comfortable talking to Joe,
Yeah.
Veronica, and Lucy, or talking to leaders over in the teaching and learning center. So for me, it was okay, great. Technical skills are always going to be the lens or the base qualifier. How are you in speaking to higher ups? What are your presentation skills? And again, it's still that same customer focused, customer client management mentality. It's just internal, right? Because you're then briefing your higher ups. And we know that Bruincast is going to be a long term project that really is going to be really it's going to win or lose on the strategy that is set. And then
Yep.
another big part for that for Bruincast is not only can you set a strategy, but how are you working with a small team? Currently, Bruincast has 3 strong full timers and a lot of students. So that core team of 3 need to work exceptionally well together. You need to be able to ideate together. You need to be able to set a strategy and be able to come up with a presentation that you can brief leadership on. So for me, it was all about that proper mix of
Mhm.
skills and experiences that would put us in a position to hopefully exceed all of our expectations of what the service can do.
Yeah, no, I love that. So I'm going to have you answer a question because you touched on it with customer service and all that I asked you on your interview.
Oh,
Uh-huh. I asked you on
oh,
on your interview, and everybody, the audience knows where I'm going with it. Well, maybe they don't, but they know this saying of mine. All of life is sales. True or false? Why
true.
and why?
And here's what's so funny. I Joe did ask me this question in my interview, and I said yes. All of life is sales, and I truly believe that. Doesn't matter if you are in a work setting and you're trying to get someone to say yes. You have to pitch them. And just to be fair to the audience, I come from a world of pitching. In the
Mhm.
entertainment side, everything is a pitch. Every time I walk into a room and I'm trying to get a director attached to a project, or I'm trying to get a writer to, look at this IP to agree to do, a spec, or even just come do a first swing, I'm always pitching. You're always selling. And that's why I said to Joe, and when the interview questions, I do truly believe that all of life is sales. Whether we're negotiating with our partners to try to set a vacation date, or we're trying to, get $100 million budget approved. And I know that kind of sounds kind of large number. Let's say a $2 million budget approved for new production equipment. You have to be able to hit the high level of what's the number, why do you need it, and what's it going to improve. So I truly do believe that, yeah, if you have the ability, if you know what the ability to hit that high level pitch, all of life really is sales, because it becomes then the negotiation. What can you give? What can you compromise on in order to realize how you can then move forward?
Yeah, yeah. See, and one thing I loved, and by the way, that one answer probably got you your job. Just so you know, that was a best answer. But the thing is, though, because one, it is true, but what I think that the technology, and you kind of talked about this on your
Yeah.
previous answer too. The technology is actually the easy part,
Yeah.
right? We can do that, but for some reason, as AV professionals, we spend so much time talking about boxes and things that connect here and there, and yet it's not the real solution is how does the customer feel at the end of it? What kind of experience are they having
Yes.
through we're just using technology as our tool, right? We could be it could
Yes.
be many other things. And I think that's really that mentality and coming in and changing that. So how do you now take that mentality, that customer service mentality, that I almost say customer first mentality,
Yes.
right? How do you install that into your team to make them effective?
This is a wonderful question. I'm going to bring up an
I know that's
experience
why
that,
I'm the host.
yeah, I know
Oh.
you're, well, you're killing it. No, I'm going to give you a real example. Chi and I were, a few weeks ago, we were partnering with our Res Life team. We were over in a student life building. I think it's an apartment complex. It's called Wayward Commons. And the issue in the room was the projector had failed, and we were trying to think about ways like, okay, how can we bring this conference room, this multi-purpose room back to life? And I love Chi. Chi's great. He's one of the people I talk to probably the most here on our digital spaces teams. And we're sitting at a table, and Chi's got in professor mode. He's sketching out, okay, we can get a new projector, we can get the Extron E-links, and we can do this, and we can bring in this amplifier to connect the audio system. And I said, Chi, we're not doing that. This is a room that is unmonitored, meaning students come into this space and they have game night. They play their PlayStation or Xboxes or whatever they had. They stream Netflix. This configuration where we have multiple peripheral adapters to be able to get audio and then this for video, that is way too complicated. We need to simplify this solution. So let's spend a little bit more time to figure out how do we're trying to get video and audio in this room. That is all we're trying to solve. What is a simplified method of what can we bring into this space to solve that problem? Because I think that what I've noticed here, we all have great solutions, and we can
Mhm.
ideate endlessly about, oh, we can do this projector has this many lumens, and we could bring in this amplifier and adapter. It can do this. But now we've introduced 7 boxes, and now I need a manual to figure out how do I connect my computer to play a Netflix stream. And I have to then call someone for assistance because I don't know which button to press and I don't know which remote goes to where. So
Yep.
for me, it's about, okay, what are we trying to solve? Let's always reframe to what are we trying to solve? Who are the customers interacting in this space?
Yep.
And how can we simplify the process that regardless if I have someone from an AV technician standing next to me, that they can do it on their own. And if we can't solve those questions or we can answer those questions under 3 minutes, then we need to go back to our design to figure out how can we simplify it. Because I always look at through the lens of I when we're talking about spaces that AV technicians are not supporting, whether it be a classroom or a conference room, if I am walking in with just my laptop, it should not take me more than 2 minutes to connect and go. And if it does, that means the room or the technology in the room was designed poorly for the use case of who's using
Yep.
it. That is an entirely different story when I'm bringing in my events team and I can set up 3 camera plots and a mixing board and lighting and connect with a DMX board for our lighting controls. That's a very different environment. We can control all of that and we can bespoke that, right? But when we talk about how do we simplify for students or for faculty, it always comes back to how do we simplify it? And what is the use case in this room that's going to benefit the end user? And not just our wildest dreams of this is how we can make it work. And these are all the great products that can make this one thing happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're in that weird time too, because we know that we're still 2 years off of kind of building our cloud first platform, whatever we end up
Yeah.
doing. And then we're kind of stuck with kind of what's there. So we're like,
Yeah.
we should invest in Band-Aids because we are going to Band-Aid campus for like a year
I,
and a half.
I'm so
But
glad you said that. She and I have enacted our own Band-Aids. It's today and tomorrow, where today it's all about we are not creating any new functionality in any spaces. We're bringing those spaces back to the original functionality from when that room first came online. that has allowed us to streamline our approval process. So we're and what I love about this is we're not creating projects. The one thing is I'm new to the higher ed space, so for me it's very different working with multiple campus stakeholders, whether that be on campus maintenance facilities, building facilities, electricians, networking, and they're all segmented and compartmentalized out, right? So we've developed a plan that if we just focus on today, no one makes us create new projects.
Mm,
So if we're
yes.
just talking about we're replacing a projector, we're replacing a receptacle on a projector lift, but we're not changing the voltage, it doesn't create a project. So that's today is just about current functionality, the original functionality from when the room was first designed. Tomorrow is all about how do we reimagine all of these spaces. So we're very excited to get past some of the today problems so we can purely be focused on that tomorrow solution that we can really sit down and work with our internal team within digital spaces, but also with our partners, what we call at UCLA on the Hill, which is what Joe mentioned, where a lot of our student residential housing is, because there are event spaces up there. We're going to be setting a meeting with those folks soon to talk about one of our premier ballroom spaces on the Hill and getting their feedback for what that tomorrow solution will look like.
Yeah, no, I love that. Oh, I just learned that. Should I know? I don't even know. I mean, I've heard you actually throw those things around, but I love that
Yeah,
you're taking that approach because you're right. It's let's get things going. We can't neglect anymore, right?
yeah,
But we
absolutely
also
right.
know that we don't want to overspend, create a project with something that might not align with our total solution that we're designing for long term, right? So I
Absolutely
love that.
right. Absolutely right. And I just to stick onto that point for a little bit longer, she and I will be in meetings, and now we've talked to so many other teams about today and tomorrow that they understand, like, okay, we know that this is today. So we've gotten them on that mind
Mhm.
frame of we just need to solve today. What's the functionality we need to bring back to room so you can keep operating the business as normal, and then we could talk about adding. One of the things that came up at the Luskin was, oh, can we do lighting? Lighting is currently under facility, but we would love to take on lighting for you if you
Yes.
want us to, but that is a tomorrow solution to solve. That is not a today problem to solve.
Yeah, and what I love about that is just thinking of some like managerial logistics. If you're now trying to find budget, if you're talking about today,
Yeah,
that's an operational expense. Easy to take it out of the money
exactly.
that you're given to keep going. If you're talking about tomorrow, now your capex, now your
Yep.
project budget. Let's go get that. Let's get our partners on board and make sure everyone understands where
Yes.
this is coming from. All of that. So I love that. So we're kind of
Exactly.
talking strategy versus make sure the next person who walks the room can do what they need to do. Right. And those are
Exactly
two
right.
very different things. I love that. But since you brought up, you are new to higher ed. What is it that you bring from, or I'm going to try to figure out how the best way to say this. You came from the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
What are the strengths from that? So I'm going to ask a two-parter. The worst thing a host
Mm.
should do is ask a two-parter. You never, that's podcasting 101, never ask a two-parter. But so here I go. What are the strengths and the skills you think you got from that you can bring here that are helping you make successful? Part one. Part
Mm.
two, now that you've been here for a few months, what are the things that go, I did not see this coming? Like, what are the differences then?
This is a loaded question,
Oh,
Joe.
yeah, it is.
When we talk about strengths, one thing that I will say, and not even just from the entertainment industry, I credit everything. I credit my career and my professional growth to being a 19-year-old at Apple and being open and being immediately completely unaware and not prepared for the roller coaster ride that I was about to embark on. Nothing can prepare you being fresh out of high school, 2,000 miles, almost 2,000 miles away from your family and friends, and being in Utah, and then being in a retail store where people are literally wrapped around the mall for snow leopard release, an operating system. And it just blew my mind that this is the impact a company could have, which is exciting, right? But at the same time, when you have 3,000 people lined up outside of a retail store, you have to deal with people. You have to make decisions in the moment that cannot be escalated to management. You have to solve them in the moment. So you have to be able to, I always have to say, you have to be able to you have to love chaos to be able to create a prioritization, whether you want to use a framework. And I'm not big on acronyms, but RICE is a big one. If you don't know what that is, please go look it up, because I won't explain that on the podcast here. But for me, it's all about how you then create that prioritization. You have someone screaming in your face. How do you present, you know, how do you either apologize or stand firm on what your core principles and policies are of a environment? Taking that into entertainment was a no-brainer, because it's all about last minute decisions, last minute green lights, last minute $1 million budget. Just got wired in from an investor, so now we can start our pre-production process. How do I line up crew and equipment, and what's our scouting locations? Do we have permits pulled? All of that is about the process. You have to be able to have strategic thinking in order to, okay, if that money comes in, what are the three things I need to do once that happens? How do I then have adaptability? Because a lot of the time I'm dealing with a lot of ambiguity where there isn't any set policy, or any isn't, or not a roadmap, or how, or what I'm expected to do. I have to figure it out in the moment. So how do you have that adaptability? And leadership is a given, because you need someone to be able to call the balls and strikes. You need someone to be able to point the direction and be able to help teams stay focused to do their best work. Those are the things I bring to the role here at UCLA that I found has been helpful to my time here so far. And it's only been 4 months. So let's talk about this again in a year. The things that was not prepared for, the things that no one can expect. I did not expect, and that this will be just funny. I did not expect that I would be driving cargo vans. I thought that time for me had been done. But I think that most importantly, it's about just jumping in. And for me, it's not, I've always been, I don't care what the work is, whether it is the executive level or if it literally is, hey, I need to be in the building because there's a lot of packages arriving. I need to receive them. Fine. It's all about how I can ensure that if I'm available and I'm not in a meeting, or if I can't take a Zoom on my phone, and I do that quite often, actually, not with you, Joe, but do it with Chi and the other guys. I'll take the Zoom on my phone. I'll open up boxes while I'm here at CS in one of our buildings here on campus, because I don't want to take my team away from the events that they are monitoring and overseeing, so that they can come over and open boxes. That's trivial to me,
Yep.
right?
Love it.
But also, I will say another thing that surprised me here is just the amount of time things take. I am used to the hurry up and wait mentality of entertainment, but getting approvals for something that seems germane has been a challenge to me, because you want to move fast because you see a today issue that needs to be solved, but then you have three other teams that are not within ITS that you also have to coordinate with in order to get those things to move forward. And then you get feedback from stakeholders of, why isn't this done? And you're like, well, I'm waiting on those approvals to happen. If you can help with that process, great. So it's just all a learning environment, but it's exciting to say the
Yeah.
least.
As I
It's all
say,
fun.
we move at the speed of higher ed. And
God.
when you're in it, you understand it. But
Yes.
and again, that's also part of the transformation too, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of what it's par for the course in doing our, reimagine IT, digital campus roadmap, and redoing all the service. So we have a couple more minutes before I go to the rapid round, and I haven't talked about LA 28. Excited, scary.
Oh,
What talk about your role with it, how your area is going to support, what you're doing, what you're looking forward to, whatever. This is an open-ended question. I mean, we're Olympic
oh my
Village
gosh.
2028.
Yeah, I look at it as not, it's all of those things. Excited, scared. It's a mix of, it's the mix of how do we ensure that, again, we can harness the backdrop of LA during the Olympic Games in 28. Because I'm looking at it not only as what can we do to support all of the auxiliary needs of our partners, whether the LA 28 community or broadcasters, if they need us for support, but really, how do we ensure that we're creating an experience for the athletes? We're a university. We, unlike the Paris Games, we are part as we're now part of the Big Ten Conference. We have a lot of D1 athletes here. How do we ensure that when we have LA 28, that we can be able to find a nice blended experience that they can also take? I think of moments of like our D1 players being able to meet Olympians and be able to create moments and experiences. So how can we ensure that we have the infrastructure in place, whether it's camera equipment or streaming opportunities, where they can create those moments that can go viral on social media platforms? How to ensure that we have that type of infrastructure, because that's the experience that I'm looking at. How do we create that student athlete blended with the Olympian performers that are going to come and do their thing? So I'm looking at opportunity to how do we upscale our production value for those moments, and then everything else is going to be fun because again, the technology is what it is. We're going to be working with our manufacturer partners to really identify the things that we need as far as equipment for LA 28. But I really just want to ensure that our student athletes have the best experience because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to be on a college campus at the same time you're walking past a Simone Biles, right?
Hmm.
And being able to then flip with your phone and go live, whether it's on Instagram or whatever, to capture that moment. And then from us on a university standpoint, that we can ever capture that content and then push it out through our feeds in order to continue that vibe of we're LA, we're going to show you and harness that power of Hollywood through all of UCLA, whether it be the athletes staying on Olympic Village, sleeping, training, eating, or just wandering around campus looking for those moments where they can connect with other Olympians. So it's going to be a really exciting time.
I love it. I love it. And I love that idea that you're taking it because we often think about the spaces. We're thinking about the rooms we have to prepare, but you're thinking about the experience of the
Yeah,
Olympian who's going to be here. And we know they're going to carry their phone around. They are their own
exactly.
brand, right? Now, how
Exactly.
can we capitalize on that and create spaces for them? I mean, I can just, and I'm totally, this is like, but it's like the angel wings on the side of a building, right? How can we create those types of things, right?
Exactly.
The Bruin Bear, the
Exactly.
this and that, and create our brand, interact it with their brand, and bring that in with the Olympics brand. And that's amazing. I love it. I love it. I
Exactly.
love it.
I'm
It's
excited for
exciting.
that.
We got a lot of work to do before then, but yeah, it's gonna be great. Well, all right. So now, thank you. This was fantastic. Hopefully, everyone has enjoyed this so far. We are now um, we are now going to go to the rapid round questions. So this section, there are no right or wrong answers. These are questions that mean nothing, but there may be a wrong answer if I disagree with you. Okay,
Here we
'cause
go.
I might have an opinion of my own on this. So first question, everyone gets the same first question. And you can answer this from UCLA point of view, UNC. I mean, you're UNC, BYU. Did you in Middle Tennessee? You were somewhere else.
I was
Uh,
everywhere.
I know
I
you
was
were.
one of those people.
So, what is your favorite college tradition?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my favorite college tradition really comes down to okay. I'll tell you two things, and it's gonna make me sound old. I was at BYU. Okay, I'm Mormon. Just to let everyone know. One of my first experiences being at BYU, and this will date me. Singing hymns at midnight under the tunnel. Okay, I can't. It was just one of those experiences. You have to be there as a time. But if I think about UNC, it would be going on Franklin Street every time that we won a game during March Madness and just watching everyone erupt. So those are my two I would go with.
All right, all right. I like that. I like that. See,
Not
those are.
everyone's big into singing hymns. I'm just going to let you know, but it's one of those things that was like it got me. Okay, it got me.
I like it. I like it. All right. Let's. UNC plays UCLA in basketball. Where are you going? Which one? Which side are
Oh,
you rooting for?
heels all the way.
All right. See, now I don't feel bad about when people ask me the crosstown versus this one.
Yep. Nope. Sorry. No diss, but no, that's my alma mater, and we're heel for life.
All right, all right. Um, so now, born and raised in Nashville, there's
Yeah.
a little trip coming to Nashville coming up. Where are we going to eat? What are we eating?
Oh, we're gonna do some real good eating. We're gonna be eating all over Midtown. We're gonna go to the Pelican Pig, which is a phenomenal place. We're gonna get some pulled pork from Martin's BBQ. We're also gonna get drinks at Patterson House, so just be prepared for that.
All right.
Patterson House is the best speakeasy that I've ever been to in the United States thus far, and I've been to plenty in New York. So, and yes, I love going to a speakeasy even if I don't drink that often. So.
All right. I love it. I love it. I love it. So now, being new into higher ed and pretty much throwing you right into the higher ed vertical too. I mean, I think it was were you here for like 3 weeks? And I said, guess what? You're speaking at Infocom. Um,
Literally 3 weeks.
what are your thoughts on just kind of the higher ed vertical itself? Very different from kind of the rest of the audiovisual / entertainment industry.
Here's the thing. What I loved about being at InfoCon, and I told you this, being thrown into it was amazing because I got to meet a lot of people and it put me out of my comfort zone immediately because my focus was like, how do I just do the job and just meet the teams? What I loved about InfoCom and what I've gotten an appreciation for is the same thing I've experienced in entertainment. Passionate folks who are passionate about the work that they are doing. It's not about the technology, it's about what the technology enables them to be able to provide as a service. And that is inspiring. Even on the toughest days here at UCLA, it really comes back to what is the impact we're able to make in our classrooms and the spaces that we manage. So that is what's really cool.
Yo, I love that. I love that. Totally true. Because my kind of buzzword is impact, right? I love doing things in impact. There's a reason founding HETMA, doing our golf tournament we just had last week, things like that. Like anytime you can make an impact, and that's what really excited me. That's also why I left Crosstown and going. I mean, I'm probably the only crazy person that would want to do a reorg twice, right? And a whole digital schedule. Let's do it all over again.
That was fun. Let's go.
But again, because you get to see the impact of doing such a huge project like that and knowing that it will change lives. So I'm going to now make you look 4 or 5 years ahead. We've done our whole thing. The Olympics have passed.
Yeah.
We have our first team meeting. What is it that had to have happened, or you're feeling whatever, to where you say this last 5 years was a success?
Oh, that's a good question. Two things: that we met our timeline and targets, that the services that we set up that we ideated to and figure out the production equipment to buy, that actually worked. And now we're in a position of thinking of, oh my gosh, we succeeded not only in capturing our timelines, providing the services, and now we've been able to really create that standardization that I keep talking about to continue elevating, right?
Yep.
That's that first team meeting for me.
All right. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. All right. So now the last little bit. So I like to close up here. So first, you got 2 last questions. First one, I like to have a little bit of an inspiration question.
Ooh,
so
okay.
give a little bit of, so let's say there's someone in your position. They're either new into higher ed, or they came from and they're now into this area, this vertical. What's your advice for them?
My biggest advice is come in with an open perspective that this environment is ripe for all minds and all diversity of thought. Do not get closed off by hearing the word no. No just means that I may not have the answer for you. And you may need to go to talk to other partners to realize and to use Joe's word, the impact that you can have here at the university in the role. I'm in a very unique position as a director of production services that I have to manage multiple operations that are going full steam at simultaneously at the same time. But at the same time, you also have to be able to put yourself in a position of creating the strategy that's going to set your teams up for success. If I were to stop at no every time I heard it, we wouldn't be in the position that we're currently in with my team, where we are now getting ready to revamp 11 rooms, that we are now redesigning our student worker workforce for digital spaces. And it's all from not just saying or letting no be that final answer, but really digging into the why. And once you understand the why, you can then continue to move forward or make changes to your approach and pivot.
Yeah, totally agree. I think a lot of times too, as I hear this from our colleagues, oh, well, they always say, well, maybe you're not educating them right. Like, oh, they don't trust me in my job. Well, maybe they actually do, but you're coming just asking for dollars. You're not explaining what the impact. You're not explaining the final thing that will happen. Are you building your entourage of champions to come with you, right? Building those relationships across the enterprise so that the ask is the easy part, right? And a lot of times, so I absolutely love that. I love that. All right, so very last question here. So this is it. You get 1 minute. Okay, this is everyone gets this last same question. You get 1 minute. This is now your show. You can talk about
Ooh.
anything you want to talk about. It's yours. You get 1 minute. I've had you'd be amazed the number of different topics that have come. It doesn't have to be technology, whatever. You get 1 minute. Starts now.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn it back to you. What do you think
You
are our
can't
should be our
interview me. I guess you
what?
can. I just made it your show.
Yeah, you did. So exactly right. I'm now. Hey, this is Tay Nelson with Joe A here. My one question is for you. What are you looking at for LA 28? How are you looking at this enterprise? There's a real big opportunity here, not only at UCLA, but the entire UC system is ripe for transformation. I
Yeah.
look at UCLA, even though this is a really big project, as a good test case of how do you set up a digital transformation that puts the university system in a new paradigm to prepare students and the way that we work and live in a whole different way than we've been doing for the last 100 years, which has been on-prem, has to be here, it all happens in a room or it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. You should host a show one day. The how do I do that? Because I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna start. Everyone knows. I'll say this now, and I'm putting it out there in the universe because you've heard me say it. I'm gonna go backwards. Let's say I'm gonna answer when it's done, and we're all sitting in our meeting. What's the success? I'm holding our Emmy, right? I'm
Oh,
holding our
yes,
Emmy,
I forgot about the Emmy.
right? But to get that Emmy meant we had to do so many other things,
Yes,
right? Like, yes, it's
that
the
is right.
trophy, but to do that meant we created a seamless experience for NBC when they're here, right? When
Right.
they're the Olympians, when we know, was it 3,000 buses are going to be used to bring Olympians in and out of Olympic
Yes,
Village and our campus on a rotational basis? And how are we helping with that? Are we a key partner in making that happen? When
exactly.
the athletes use our practice facilities, are we able to give them video opportunities to be
Exactly.
able to look at what they're doing? So that's that, and then back it up. We can't do that until we've done our enterprise platform that Chi and team is working on, and then improving our classrooms and our live streaming service that Danny and Hunter and then we got Melise and all of our operations. So we have all these teams that have to come
Yeah,
together with all of your parts.
exactly.
And so, I think I just didn't answer your question by saying this other stuff, but I think it's a matter of there's so many things and steps, right?
Yes.
And it's like, let's pull each of these together. And then we're going to look back and go, how did we get here? And if we do each of those in the right way, then it will happen. And it is a very unique opportunity.
Yeah.
Reorgs aren't unique opportunities. And a little bit they're different, and everyone's gone through a reorg and they're scary. Uh, Ripping everything out and starting over and creating a platform is a unique experience, right?
Yeah.
But it's not so unique. People have done it, but we've got the budget,
Exactly.
we've got the entire top down university
Yeah.
championing us. But then LA 20, there's a unique experience, and we have all these campus partners, and we have this breadth. Oh, not to mention, we just bought 3 more campuses that we haven't figured
I
that part
know.
out yet, and we're not so. It's like how many different unique experiences can you throw in one bucket and then go figure out something with this and make it all unified. So I will say it's scary and exciting at the same time.
I agree.
Um, but I will say, and I'll be here. I will flat say I have the single best leadership team in all of higher education, including yourself and all of the others. And and I know that you're building your areas to be successful. So I
Yeah.
actually sleep really well at night now, and I can step back and go, "Oh, we're gonna get this right." I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
For the last year, I've been here a little over a year. It's scary, right? And I'm going, "Oh, I'm seeing how they're gonna pull this together." Right. And I can let go and I can trust them. And I think that's really the thing that's going to make this
And
successful.
I will say, just to still my time back here, even though I think we're over a minute, is you never know when you're building a team how people are going to interact and work together. And I have just been really floored and surprised how quickly this leadership team, like, I'm on the phone when Hunter's in the country. I'm on the phone with Hunter daily. I talk to Chi, Slack, email, phone daily. Chi and I talk in the morning, and then we have a recap at the end of the evening. And Hunter will, like, the last time we were at Buffalo Wild Wings near you, Joe. Chi and I were in the parking lot talking for another 45 minutes after everyone else went home. And Hunter was like, "Do you guys ever just stop?" And the reason is no, we all get along very well together. And it's not just because the mission here at UCLA, it's because we really are wanting to be successful and to see each other succeed in our roles. And also for the team to succeed in the overarching goals that we're trying to enact for the university. Those are things that you can't plan for. You can't plan for how Tay and Hunter are going to interact together, how Tay, Hunter, and Chi are going to interact together. And you've gotten a really solid team that we all work really well together. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. And I saw it again. I saw it at the event last week too, and see you all sitting at the table and interacting, like going, "Oh, that's a strong team. That is a strong team. I love it. I love it." Oh, this has been fantastic. I knew I was going to go over the 45 minutes. So very last question: how can people get a hold of you and connect with you? Should they want to?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the easiest, fastest way is just to connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is very easy to see. It's Tay Nelson at LinkedIn. I'm not, and then from there, just send me a message. I respond to everyone, whether they're someone that I know or don't know, because I think that LinkedIn is a great network for us to be able to have those moments. And then once we create a vibe, I can see you at a conference. Let's go have dinner together. So let's continue the virtual in real life.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining, Tay, and everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Do connect with Tay. Find him on LinkedIn, and also come by campus, everyone. I'm sure he'd love to show you around. I see how I just volunteered you.
I know. Don't come to CSB1, but come everywhere else. We'll love you.
But of course, you can find me at Josiah on all the socials. Find Hired AV at Hired AV on all the socials, and make sure you join and connect with Hetma at Hetma_org on all of the socials. And here we go. Here's the theme music. Here's the cover slide. See y'all. Play the music. You got to do the thing. That's what we're doing. And then I always just talk over it. And there we go. And now I'm stopping recording. Great talking, everybody.